everyone, greetings from National Skills Network. This is Madhuri, and today we are going to discuss few important aspects of what it means to be working in gig economy. Gig economy is something that's become so common today for all of us that the jobs are changing, the nature of work is changing, many things are changing, and also with technology playing a very important role, we are going to see many more changes coming in. So are we ready for this kind of economy? So with this question, today we are going to start our conversation with Ms. Neeti Sharma, who is the president and co-founder, TeamLease Edtech. So welcome to this talk, Neeti.
Thank you, Madhuri. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. And as I was telling you earlier also, we have been reading quite a few articles and posts from you on gig economy, and you are touching upon some very interesting and important points. And today you can share a few insights with us. So let me get started by asking you, how is gig economy evolving very rapidly, as we can see, and it's changing the work, the nature of work, and the skilling landscape.
That's right. Yeah. So we have seen that the gig economy is growing very rapidly in India.
Yeah.
Traditionally, at least pre-COVID, we saw that the gig economy was largely focusing on logistics sector. So let's say the delivery boys, or let's say the hospitality sector. So the Swiggies, Zomatos of the world, right, or the Ubers, Olas of the world, that started the whole momentum of gig workforce, because everything was on contract, on project basis, on demand. But as we went along over the last few years, we realized that the gig workforce need not be restricted to only entry level jobs and only blue collar jobs. There are a lot of gray and white collar jobs that actually can be delivered through the gig workforce.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of employers now opening their doors to the idea of taking people purely on project basis. And a lot of workforce, a lot of employees are looking for this kind of a balance, especially because we've seen during the pandemic, work from home, remote working, hybrid working, all of that has actually enabled us to think beyond pure play face-to-face office working. So we realize that things can be part-time, it can be project basis, it can be need based, it can be deadline based. So roles such as, let's say, design, digital marketing, coding, right, project management, content, HR. I think you name a function, or even L&D for that matter, you name a function, there are organizations that are willing to look at people with this relevant skill sets, and there are a lot of employees both at entry and mid segment level who are willing to give this gig working style a chance. Having said that, while HR's primary responsibility has been hiring the right candidate, now the right skill sets also get underlined. So nobody is seeing that I just need a person. They're saying, oh, I need a person with these specific skill sets, so that they hit the ground running, they become productive, if not day one, at least month one.
Yeah.
Which is where workforce that has relevant skill sets comes only for that one particular specific task or a job role, will work extremely well in roles which probably are not as collaborative in nature as maybe some other roles are not as physical or manual or customer front ending kind of roles, which will not work in the gig environment. But skills are very critical, and that's what employers are looking for. The gig workforce has also realized this, and they are doing the best to bring in the relevant skill sets with no additional cost to the employer.
Okay.
That's the other upside that comes in by taking in or utilizing the gig workforce for specific job roles. Like I said, it will work for few job roles and few industries. It may not work for few job roles and few industries.
Yeah. So can we say that it works mostly for tech-enabled job roles? Isn't that what it is mostly?
I would say services and knowledge workers.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, a role that you are playing right now, digital marketing, right, can be done on a gig, in a gig manner.
Yes.
right? Or a design work, an architectural work. All of that can be project based and can be based on gig. I mean, you don't have to take somebody full time in an organization,
Right.
right? A UI UX expert or a content writer, an SME, or somebody, let's say, who writes HR policies. In
Yes.
startup environment, people will not have the money to bring in leadership at every level.
Yeah, that's
they,
true.
they end up deploying these skill sets and experts from the industry who are just doing the short term project based assignments, and they move out.
Yeah.
So it works for the employee, for the organization. It works very well for the gig workforce, because then the number of assignments also keep going up, and that's what we've seen in the last 2 years.
Yeah, so it's kind of win-win for both. It helps both the parties. And then also you gave the example of startups. We are also a small organization. As a small company, we also depend on few of our team members to work in this way, the extended team, I would say, and it is really helpful. But what is important for us from the other side, I can tell you, is the outcome.
Yes,
The outcome and the quality, the discipline with which they do it, the professionalism, and
yes,
all those things. Now if you extend this and look at the present scenario, as you pointed out in the beginning, it's going to be the reality. It's like it's like phenomenally increasing, right, these roles. So
correct.
what is needed for the people to be prepared with, like the workforce, like uh, how do they update, I mean, how do they upskill themselves, how do they take care of the challenges which come with such a job?
Correct.
Because there will be it comes with a bit of uncertainty, it comes with a bit of a risk and all, right? Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely. So you are bang on, because not just the core skills or the hard skills are required. Now with the volume of gig workforce increasing, the skills required are very, very definitive. Like you rightly said, outcome from these workforce is also defined way ahead of time. Because we know that when I complete this project, this is what I want from this particular gig workforce.
Yeah.
The gig employees actually need to be prepared in core and hard skills, but a lot of other skills, such as, let's say, project management skills.
Mm.
I'm taking a task for an assignment. What am I supposed to do to ensure that I'm managing the project end to end? My communication is bang on with the organization I have signed a deal with, right? My customer service skills are right, because if I'm not able to communicate the work I'm doing, or how am I able to complete the task or achieve a particular outcome,
Mm.
by if I'm not able to build that relationship, that uncertainty in getting assignments will also increase massively.
Yeah.
So not
Right.
only am I supposed to be good at my work, but I'm also supposed to ensure that I have enough network so that I keep getting consistent assignments. I have good communication skills. I reach out to people. My technology skills are bang on. So
Mm.
even if I am a writer, I'm a content writer, I should be able to adopt technology, because all of this work actually will happen as technology on the backbone. The
Mm.
monitoring, the governance, the reporting, project management, all of this will use technology,
Yeah.
right? So unless and until as a gig worker, I am able to use the technology, or I'm confident of being around the technology, I'll not be able to scale beyond a certain point, right?
Mm.
Apart from that, we realize that perception around gig workforce is not very, very positive right now.
Mm.
While people are utilizing, they're also saying, "Acha, let's take them for a smaller project. Let me take them for something which is lower risk." So I think it's also important for specific gig workforce to create that surround sound around themselves, that seriousness, that this is not just for short term. This is something that can be doable for a 12-month, 14-month, even a 24-month project,
Yeah.
right? It's a serious business both for the employer as well as the gig workforce.
Yeah.
I think skills, like I reiterate that it is not just hard and core skills, but a lot of these skills. I mean, let's say I'm starting to be a gig workforce. Do I know how to manage my finances?
Mm.
Right? Do I know how to I reach out to the people who can give me assignments? There are a
Yeah.
whole lot of other skills, because if you don't do it, you will end up getting one assignment and then you'll sit quiet.
Mm.
So the
Okay.
networking, soft skills, customer relationship, financial management, I think it's a lot of that combination. Because
Yeah.
in a way, a gig workforce is a is a small time entrepreneur in his or her own right.
Yeah, that's true. Self-employment,
Right.
entrepreneurship, it has elements of
A
all these.
lot of these things, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, also, since we from NSN are also looking at unorganized sector, how
Mhm.
the recruitment happens there, how people get jobs in the unorganized sector. One of the things, observations I have always had is that in the unorganized sector, it has mostly been gig type of work. Like you already gave the example of these delivery boys, for example, or it could be in other industries as
Yeah.
well, where there isn't any uncertainty, there is volatility and all these factors are there.
Mm.
So is there some learning that can be taken from there and applied to the gig in the organized sector? The gig word becomes quite fashionable now in the organized sector.
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
what are the learnings that can be applied from unorganized to the organized sector?
Sure. So I think the biggest learning that we have seen, and even let's say when I'm talking about delivery boys or drivers, right?
Hmm.
Eventually, these organizations ended up spending learning budgets on hand holding this gig workforce.
Okay.
It's not like people were ready 200% to come and just be deployed,
Hmm.
right? Or I have to spend time in training my team, whether it's internal, external, gig, full-time, part-time, in certain processes, certain norms. So I think a biggest learning organizations can take away is that while gig workforce is a is a temporary in nature kind of a thing, and I'm not using the temp workforce in lieu of gig workforce, but they are short term in nature.
Yeah.
Organizations will also have to start planning on how they can make investments in handholding and upskilling and reskilling some part of the gig workforce.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
I think that's a big learning, because if we just leave it to the individual, and I'm depending, let's say I'm saying I'll only take 50% of my employee base as full time, and the
Hmm.
balance 50% I'm using gig workforce. If that gig workforce is not skilled enough, it doesn't know my processes, doesn't know my products well, I'll not get the productivity that I'm looking at.
So you feel the organization also has to take some
Yes,
responsibility in this
yes,
regard, right?
yes.
And especially when we get to see that this is kind of becoming the new normal, considering various factors like the layoffs, especially which are happening. There is a recurring of the recession and various other economic factors,
Yeah,
make this a very important thing. So you just mentioned the responsibility of the organization. Another important thing is the social security, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think for the unorganized sector, there are few measures from the
Correct.
government as well. Yeah. So, and in terms of, let's say, payment and, the compensation, do you see that organizations do pay the gig workers well, or do they, are they paid properly, regularly, or do you see any issues here as well?
So I think by and large, gig workers do get paid, as per schedule, and they do get paid fair prices.
Hmm.
Okay, also because ideally, the if I look at a per hour rate of a gig workforce will be higher than a per hour rate of a full-time employee.
Oh, okay.
That's because the full-time employee also gets other benefits like insurance,
Yeah.
right? The social security, like you use the term,
Yeah.
right? Which the gig workforce will not get. But with the government changing the laws now around the gig economy,
Yeah.
my assumption is that employers will have to abide by some of these norms,
Hmm.
and provide some social security or some sort of a infrastructure for the gig economy to flourish a lot more.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I haven't heard or seen any instance of a gig workforce not getting paid on time or not getting paid fair wages. Of course, every industry has his or their own challenges. But yeah, by and large, I think that industry is kind of managing, because they realize that for certain set of jobs, they are dependent on this expertise.
Yeah.
So they can't even afford to not pay the gig workforce after the work is done.
Yeah. Okay. Now coming to TeamLease and under your leadership, what are some of the initiatives that TeamLease is taking to prepare people for the future workplace in terms of skilling, training, and also the skills that you mentioned just now, which are mostly falling under the mindset, the right attitude
Yeah,
towards appreciating gig work.
correct.
Yeah.
So Madhuri, let me tell you, as TeamLease Edtech, we partner with various higher education institutes where we are OPM or online program managers. Okay,
Okay.
so we work with let's say online universities, open universities, public and private universities in providing them platform, content, assessment, learning services,
Mm-hmm.
right? We also bring in short-term vocational skills along with the degree curriculum. Now, something the new education policy has made it a mandate for all education institutes.
Yeah.
That skills have to be embedded as part of the curriculum,
Mm.
right? So we partner with universities and institutes to provide that skill so that the student graduating out has to become employable,
Mm.
right? We also partner with various enterprises where we do upskilling, reskilling, new skilling of existing workforce. We do a lot of induction, onboarding,
Mm.
kind of programs across tech and non-tech industries. We do a lot of, I use the term essential skills, soft skills, behavioral skills,
Mm.
preparing people, making them learnable, and giving continuous learning a shot.
Okay.
So having said that, and our motto at TeamLease EdTech is making India employable.
Mm.
Our motto at TeamLease is putting India to work. So bringing
Yeah.
both together, we are actually trying to create an environment that there are more and more people who become employable. So
Mm.
somebody who is passing out of the 12th class to undergrad to postgrad to first time employment to then managerial and above levels. That's the cycle we follow for employees, for first time learners, first time job seekers, employed learners, conventional learners, and all of those things. What we are also doing at TeamLease and at TeamLease EdTech is handholding the teams to create a career and a learning path hand in hand.
Okay.
Because we believe that you can't build a career unless you learn continuously.
Yeah.
And just by learning and not giving the growth opportunity to the employee, the retention of that employee becomes a challenge.
Mm. Mm.
So that's something that we have been working on the last few years, and we see that there is good feedback from the employees.
Okay.
They're happy that we're able to do this because then they can use what they're learning at their workplace,
Mm. That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that you would have heard this from us many times is we brought in the concept of an apprenticeship embedded degree program. Again, this is included in the new education policy,
Yeah.
where we are providing apprenticeships and degrees to undergrad and grad students from day one.
Yeah.
So we realized that there are a lot of students. I think about 10 million students actually pass class 10th, and only 1 million goes beyond 12th. So
Mm.
it's a huge dropout ratio, and a large part of it, Madhuri, with the segments we deal with are financial dropouts.
Mm.
So how do we bring those financial dropouts back into formal education and give them
Yeah.
the opportunity they would have missed?
Yeah.
Right? Degree apprenticeship or apprenticeship embedded degree program is a platform where these financial dropouts can come in,
Mm.
take part and become a degree undergrad student, and also get stipend from month one that employers are willing to give.
Yeah.
So that way, the opportunity cost of not being employed, not earning for families goes away.
Yeah.
And in parallel, the learner or the student is actually going through a formal education. So
Mm.
their career growth is guaranteed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, otherwise they end up sitting in a small store, a kirana shop, get 5,000-6,000 rupees. So what's their growth potential?
Right. Yeah, and regarding apprenticeships, we had featured a conversation with Mr. Sumit Kumar, and I remember we had a very interesting discussion around how TeamLease is working on degree apprenticeships.
Correct.
And for our audience who are interested to know more, you can watch the video on our YouTube channel. We'll share the link in the description. It's a conversation on degree apprenticeships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the supply side of the apprenticeships, which means the demand and talking to employers, and then identifying which student will fit into what kind of apprenticeship roles, what will be good fit for the student side, from the organization side, which university's program will fit in best for that student. I
Mhm.
think all of that as a platform, TeamLease EdTech and TeamLease have been able to play a good role, and we have about 35-40,000 such learners,
Okay.
right, who are learning on the job and learning in class as well.
Okay.
This we believe can bring in a lot more students who are dropping out of formal education and get them to complete education and build and become more employable, basically, because then they get jobs and they build a career and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Neeti, thank you so much for sharing all these insights about gig economy and also telling us more about TeamLease. I think for our audience, the message is very clear that the kind of jobs we are going to do in future are definitely going to change. And I don't think it is the designation or the longevity or the continuation of a particular job by climbing the ladder and getting promotions is going to be a reality, and then which ends in something like a so-called retirement, right?
Correct.
I don't think that's going to be the thing for people in the coming years. So we need to prepare ourselves with the kind of new jobs that are coming. And Neeti, thank you so much for sharing these insights, and we'll be in touch with you to get regular updates. Thank you.
Please, please. Wonderful talking to you, Madhuri. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.